I was wondering why the basketball was getting bigger. And then it hit me. Hey there, kiddos, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Uncle Frank, hoping that you are having a great day. And in today's video, I'm sitting back in my very comfortable chair, relaxing and having a little conversation with all of you about collectibles and the different kinds of collectibles and the crushing reality that if you create something to be a collectible with no other substance to it, you might be in the wrong business. You see, let's tell a tale of two items in my personal collection. You see, this is Knuckles the Echidna. This is the only pop figure I own. It is sterile, soulless. It looks nearly identical to every other pop figure on the market except for the paint job and the slight change in the mold. I did not seek this item out. It was a gift. And I'm not the kind of person who throws away a gift, regardless of how I personally feel about the item in question. Now this is a Ghost in the Shell Motoko Kusanagi. I think it's called the hard disk model. It is a non-posing toy with a lot of detail included in the mold. A fairly solid paint job, all things considered, and it even comes with a little Fujikoma. I believe that one's called a Fujikoma. There's no information on the back of the box except for an advertisement for the other model, Whiteout. This was an item I did seek out. It cost me $12 at a flea market several years ago. I still remember the day I bought it because I bought it alongside some other Ghost in the Shell merchandise. And I purchased it because I thought that for $12, this was a well-made toy, and it is a piece of a franchise I'm extremely fond of. One of these collectibles, despite ostensibly being in the same price range, I know that the prices for both have changed since I've acquired them, but they were both marketed at the same price range and ostensibly for the same kind of collector, fans of a franchise. It's hard to deny that one is just infinitely better than the other, right? One is a dime a dozen factory shat out mold that has absolutely no love behind it. And the other is also factory molded. Thousands and upon thousands were probably produced. But in terms of the care of the mold itself and the attention to detail and the overall end result, there's a clear difference. And it's clear to me, even if you look back in time to when these items first came out, there was a clear distinction in which one was the better thing to pick up. Because one was created for fans of a specific franchise, presumably by someone who had licensed out that franchise, and another one was made as part of a line to appeal to as many people as possible, to grip the reins of as many IPs as possible. Funko Pops are a very mass-produced collectible, produced for the sole purpose of getting as many people into collecting for the sake of collecting as possible. And I firmly believed that basically ever since they came out. Funkos are as low effort, as low quality, and as far from appealing as one could be. The only real draw that they have is that for many franchises out there, a Funko Pop might be one of only a handful of things you could feasibly collect for that franchise if you were a fan. So in some ways, a Funko Pop can tug at the heartstrings and tingle your nostalgia goggles and make you go, yeah, sure, I don't mind spending $10 to $12 to $15 on again, very low quality vinyl miniature of that franchise. And it's always been under my understanding, my opinion, that collectibles kind of have to develop organically. Things like, maybe not exactly like this Ghost in the Shell toy, but things like it, toys. Uh, I like to think back to all the Gargoyles toys or the Transformers toys, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles toys from my childhood, Power Rangers toys. There's a lot of toys I played with as a kid. Those weren't produced for the sake of being collectibles. Those were ostensibly produced just to play with, to give kids an excuse to scream at their parents when going to the store. Oh, I want the Green Ranger, and I'm going to have him fight Raphael from the Ninja Turtles. And little did we know that would be an actual crossover at some point. Yes, no, I'm actually not joking there. There was a TMNT Power Rangers crossover, and it was cool as hell, but that's not the point of this video. When you create something, no matter what market that thing is created for, if you create something for the sole purpose of being a collectible with no other draw attached to it, you have a problem item on your hands, because collectibles, in my opinion, do need a genuine kind of grounds up draw to them to make them collectible in the long run. You can certainly make a collectible in the short run and even have quite the draw to them just for the scarcity and rarity and the draw of it, right? Funko got away with several years of having rare variants and special versions and all that jazz that dropped in waves. But it's not really a sustainable thing. And it could never possibly be a sustainable thing, in my opinion. I just need to stress that again. This is all my opinion. I'm not some kind of business major or anything. I just have strongly believed for a long time that if you are going to be collecting something, it's going to be for reasons of attachment. You are going to want it for some reason. I wanted this Ghost in the Shell figure for the same reason I wanted this Dot Hack GU Prima strategy guide. This is Prima, right? Oh no, this is Brady Games. I was wrong. I grabbed this for like $5. Should have paid more attention. I grabbed those items for the same reason I grabbed that poster behind me of Metroid Prime Trilogy, or the Zelda plush and the Bloodborne plush, or I don't know. Pick out an item on my shelf back here. I grabbed them because I was a fan of the franchise, and it was either something I had wanted for a while just because it represented my love of the franchise, or in the case of some of the toys back there, for instance, it was something that I had played with when I was a kid, and I just kind of wanted it back. There's a Pac-Man back there somewhere that came with like a board game or something. There's like a little Pac-Man toy back there. I don't know where. I think it's... I'm trying to spot it with the camera. I think it's right above where I'm pointing. That's a Pac-Man back there. And that was just a toy I had when I was a kid, and I wanted it. So when I saw it at a flea market, I was like, yoink, don't mind if I do. But things like pop figures, which were created just to appeal to as base an audience as possible, as many people as possible, with no other inherent value to them beyond the fact that they vaguely resemble your favorite characters, that can't be appealing to me. And apparently I'm not in the minority, because in the last few years there's been a lot of troubling news with Funko as a company. Last year they dumped a metric shitload of Funko Pops into a landfill somewhere because I guess they had produced so much, they had buried themselves under so much vinyl trash that it was literally easier and cheaper to throw it into a garbage dump than it would have been to store it in a warehouse or to put it on discount sales somewhere. And now apparently we are being told that they don't have enough capital, enough cash on hand to survive a fiscal year or something along those lines. And, you know, I've made it clear before, I don't like to be a Debbie Downer on this channel. I don't like to give exclusively bad news or have an exclusively negative opinion, but I do think that this was kind of inevitable. Because when you create something for the sake of just being a collectible, without anything else attached to it, beyond just vague, very vague semblance to an IP that people might be fond of, you really do create a product that only a handful of people would really want. I mean, let me give a good example. So there's pop figures out there for franchises like, I don't know, I think Friends has them. I genuinely do not keep a list of the catalog on me. But I'm fairly sure some like old TV shows and movies that otherwise have no collectibles out there, I'm fairly sure they have pop figures, right? I think there's also pop figures for a bunch of video games. Like, I think Bloodborne might have one. And if it doesn't, I'd be very surprised. But Bloodborne also has, let's grab it from the shelf over here. Bloodborne also has this little thing. This is the Hunter from Bloodborne. And this costs about the same as a pop that I think I paid like $13 for this. It's called a Totaku. And I think it was supposed to be like a PS4 amiibo or something. I think that was the intention behind it. But you can see the difference. You can see the difference between this bad boy and this bad boy in terms of quality. Both are basically paperweights, right? But this one is a lovingly crafted, well, lovingly crafted was probably by some dude in a sweatshop. It's a well-crafted paperweight for all intents and purposes. Actually, this is pretty heavy. I don't know what's in here. But it's well molded, has a lot of details on it, and it does an accurate representation of the character it's supposed to represent. Look, it even has like blood stains on the back of his coat, on the weapon. Like that's nice, right? And it only costs like $12. You know, that's the cost of a double cheeseburger meal. And as I said in the start of the video, this is a soulless mold that looks virtually identical to every other pop figure on the planet except for the paint job. It is a red pop figure that kind of looks like Knuckles the Echidna. Sort of, if you squint. So I've got to say I was not very surprised to hear that Funko is in a lot of financial trouble, because when your business model is quality over quantity, and your only drive as a collectible is collectability itself with no other drive, you've kind of created a recipe for disaster. We've talked about this with other TCGs, and I've made my opinion clear. Collectability for the sake of collectability is worthless if there isn't some other appeal to the game and to the collectible. So that's all I got for you kids today. I know this was more of a downer kind of video, but I really needed to stress that I really was not surprised one bit to hear that Funko Pops is probably going to be going out of business. Hard to say how they'd be pulling themselves out of the situation they've made for themselves. But that's all I got for you kids today. Please like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment down below. Do you think Funko can recover from the situation they've dug themselves into? If so, I'm curious to see how. And if you want to chat more with me or anyone else who's in my Discord server, we have a Discord server where we chat all the time. And I think that's it. I think that's it for the advertisements. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.